can't believe I'm doing this. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
Today we're talking about Beetlejuice, aka Beetlejuice Squared or Beetlejuice 2. 36 years later, Tim Burton gets the gang back together for this legacy sequel, with plenty of demonic hijinks and practical effects galore. There's a lot to love with this one, a lot not to love. For the most part, it was a great time at the movies. With Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Catherine O'Hara returning to their original roles, along with new Burton mainstay Jenna Ortega and Twin Peaks alum Monica Bellucci, the cast is as colorful as ever. Willem Dafoe also shows up, seemingly the busiest man in Hollywood right now. Our returning cast characters are expanded upon in meaningful ways, if not inconsequential overall. Beetlejuice is an iconic movie and character, so I was pretty quick to write this one off when I started seeing trailers over the summer. I have fond memories watching the original as a child, and with it being no secret how tired I am of legacy sequels after my Alien Romulus video, which you can watch right here, I didn't want to go into something that had the possibility of bumming me out. But it turns out that a healthy skepticism may actually help you have a better time at the movies. At least it helped for me. I'm happy to say that Beetlejuice 2 absolutely exceeded expectations and is definitely worth your time. The script leaves a lot to be desired, but we'll get into that later. Going into this expecting to groan, I found that I was chuckling along the entire time. The movie is fun and funny, and it looks and feels that way too. It's been a while since I've seen a Tim Burton movie in general, but especially in theaters, with the last one being Alice in Wonderland, and the last one I really enjoyed seeing being Sweeney Todd. I didn't realize how much I had missed Tim Burton's patented sense of whimsy, and with Beetlejuice 2, I'm happy to say, he's back, babe. You can tell while watching this that Burton has a general dismay for the current onslaught of digital effects and CGI in movies because Beetlejuice 2 is jammed with practical effects. The costume design is excellent, the makeup impeccable, and it has some of the most beautiful, jaw-dropping sets I've seen in a movie in recent memory. It looks fantastic, and I was never bored with it visually. Burton seemed to have lost his sense of zaniness seen in earlier films like Pee-wee's Big Adventure and even Batman Returns. Beetlejuice 2 is a return to form, allowing the audience to hop into a roller coaster that only he could design. I mean, the thing is packed with so many gags, adding some much needed humor to our current cinema landscape. More importantly, the movie doesn't beat you over the head with references to the original or the past. It does kind of rehash the plot of the first movie, but it manages to still be a bit original and stray from that and be its own thing. There's a few moments that are obvious callbacks. They don't really feel out of place, more so in line with what Beetlejuice would do tonally anyways. Plus, that stuff doesn't really matter because Burton implements so many new characters and sequences to keep you distracted, and that's for better or for worse. And while most of the new characters stick their landings, some don't get fleshed out in the ways that I would have liked. Just as soon as you're beginning to settle in with Astrid, played by Jenna Ortega, you get whisked away to Winona Ryder's Lydia Dietz and her subplots. And while the movie is never boring because of this, it's also a bit scatterbrained and confusing. This is the only core issue I found with Beetlejuice. There's a fair amount of writing credits on this movie, and it shows. I mentioned that the movie doesn't get boring visually, but it's the story that's lacking. This isn't a huge deal. This is Beetlejuice we're talking about, and while the original is a bit more compelling than its sequel, the character of Beetlejuice and his movie have always been more about style than substance. All of the plots here go on and on. Beetlejuice's ex-wife is back. Lydia Dietz is getting married to some asshat named Rory, played to great effect by Justin Theroux. Astrid Dietz misses her father and is falling in love with some James Dean lookalike. And then Willem Dafoe enters the mix as undead actor gone cop Wolf Jackson. Oh, did I mention that Charles Dietz has died and they attend his funeral and they play that up to great comedic effect as well? Yeah, that's just a smidgen of all the plot lines and sequences that happen throughout this movie's runtime. And while I wish I felt a bit more throughout the movie, the actors carry the material further and sometimes beat it to death. Despite that, you love them for it. There is a unique magic to the movie that is undeniable. The story, while I'm harping on it, began to not matter to me at a certain point. I just enjoyed seeing all the costumes, set pieces, and character designs, and that's Tim Burton for you, really. There's also just a couple of lines that feel out of place. One specifically involving Rory mentioning that there's a Netflix exec at their wedding. Something about it just felt cringy, unnecessary. Like hey, it's 2024 and Netflix is hot, let's throw a reference in that the kids will love, huh? It's a small gripe, but Rory's dialogue in general got to me. That's probably because it's supposed to, because he clearly sucks, made abundantly clear by his assaultive man bun and telegraphed feminist talk. Overall though, the script can come off a little out of touch. The main attraction is the man himself, the Juice. It's as if Michael Keaton hasn't aged a day, that he is Beetlejuice, just waiting and stalking Winona Ryder the last 36 years, trying to get her to marry him again. His backstory with Monica Bellucci's Delores is hilarious. And basically any moment he's on screen is an absolute delight. No notes, man. Keaton still got it, and he was ready for showtime. They tie a pretty nice bow on this with the ending, but there's a part of me that wouldn't mind getting another Beetlejuice. It'll get tiresome to say his name 6 times with the 5th sequel, so I get it. Best to just let this be. They pulled off a pretty amazing achievement. A legacy sequel that actually works, despite some flaws and script groaners. If we're going to continue to get movies like this from Hollywood, which we most definitely are after Wolverine and Deadpool's success this summer, at least make them as good as Beetlejuice 2. This movie proves that there is a way to pander just enough to nostalgia while remaining fresh and interesting. And that's the true strength of the movie, especially in our current movie landscape. In a sea of recent movies that are CGI crapfests and nostalgia prawn grabs, Beetlejuice 2 works because it simply just cares about its audience. The effort put into this movie really shows, as well as how much fun the cast and crew clearly had making this. It's such a breath of fresh air to have a final act of a movie that isn't some ugly, gray mashup of an epic battle. Sure, it could be better in a lot of ways, but it's not worth griping about. It's an ode to old Burton, and hopefully a sign of what's to come next from the director. I'm actually excited to see what his next project may be, and I may even give Wednesday a spin now. I grew up obsessed with the guy, and it's nice to have a newly rekindled love of his material, and hopefully other people out there are feeling that way too. Anyway, what did you think of Beetlejuice 2? Was it as dry as the sandworm dunes, or satisfying like Delores sewing her mangled body parts together? Leave all the comments below, and before you go, don't forget to like and smash that subscribe button. We are trying to hit our next subscriber milestone of 500 subscribers, and every little bit of your support counts. And until next showtime, give it up for the ghost with the most. Make sure you look down as you cross the street for any open manhole covers. Peace.
What the f***? I'm needed upstairs. Bob, go down the fork.
We'll see who gets the last laugh.